6:59 a.m. Eastern Time. We've got one of our shorter webcasts today with live coverage ending just after first stage landing and second engine cutoff. We will confirm deployment of our Starlink satellites via SpaceX's social channels, but we'll also leave the mission audio live on our YouTube channel if you'd like to follow along through payload deploy. If for some reason we don't launch today, we do have a backup opportunity on Thursday, May 19th at 6:38 a.m. Eastern Time. For our new viewers out there, Starlink is a constellation of satellites that can provide high-speed, low-latency internet all over the globe, particularly in remote areas where connectivity is limited or completely unavailable. And the rocket that you see on your screen there will be taking additional satellites to space in order to grow our constellation and expand our coverage. Now with that, let's get to know a little bit more about Falcon 9 and the launch pad that we're lifting off from today. Located in Merritt Island, Florida, Launch Complex 39A, or LC-39A, was originally designed to launch NASA astronauts on Saturn V vehicles. In 1967, Launch Complex 39A supported its first mission, launching the uncrewed Apollo 4 spacecraft, as well as the first Saturn V launch. Later, Pad 39A was remodeled to support the space shuttle. In addition to the first 24 space shuttle flights, this launch pad also supported the final shuttle flights until the fleet was retired in July of 2011. In May of 2013, NASA announced the opportunity to lease Launch Complex 39A, and we signed the lease in 2014. Now, 8 years later, we're well on our way to launch our 49th mission off 39A and our 48th mission of Starlink overall in just a few minutes from now. Now, the vehicle that you see on your screen is our Falcon 9 rocket, and the Starlink satellites are housed in the very top of the vehicle, and that's what you see on your screen. That's a structure called the fairing. Now, the job of the fairing is to protect the Starlink satellites until we reach the vacuum of space. But at that point, we no longer need the fairing, so we will jettison the fairing halves and attempt to retrieve them once they return back to Earth. Both the fairing halves protecting our Starlink satellites today will be flying for the third time on this mission. And below the fairing, we have the second stage. Now, that's that shorter white stage above the black inner stage that houses our Merlin vacuum engine. After the first and second stages separate about 2.5 minutes into the flight, the second stage will ignite its single Merlin vacuum engine to carry the payload to its desired orbit. And last but not least, we have the first stage, also referred to as the booster. This portion of the rocket makes up over 60% of the entire length of the Falcon 9 vehicle. Now, as the name of the vehicle suggests, Falcon 9, attached to the bottom of the first stage are 9 Merlin M1D engines that accelerate the vehicle through the Earth's atmosphere and into various orbits in space. The dark soot that you see around the lower part of the first stage are remnants from its previous launches. For this particular booster, it has experience supporting both Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy missions. It supported Cosmos SkyMed and a Starlink mission, as well as supporting STP-2 and Arabsat 6A as a Falcon Heavy side booster. Now, what you can see on your screen there is our drone ship, a shortfall of Gravitas. It's currently using its 4 thrusters to maintain position in the Atlantic Ocean. And the first stage will be, once it separates from the second stage, we will be attempting to recover the first stage for a 5th time on our drone ship, a shortfall of Gravitas. We got a great view there too. Now you can see on your screen, there are those clamp arms just below the fairing opening up. Those clamp arms are attached to the transporter erector that's structured next to the vehicle. And it looks like the clamp arms have completed opening up, so we should see the transporter erector start to move. And there you can see it on your screen. It's slow and slight, but the transporter erector is now moving away from the vehicle just slightly. And at liftoff, it will move even further away to clear the way as Falcon 9 lifts off. And there you can see it. Pretty cool close-up view of that transporter erector retracting back. We're coming up on prop load completion on the
Stage 1, LOX load complete.
And great timing. We got that call out that LOX load is complete on the first stage. That concludes prop load for first stage. Second stage will be wrapping up around the T-minus 2-minute mark. And we always try to load the LOX as close to T0 as possible. That allows us to keep the liquid oxygen as cold as possible, as dense as possible, so that we can load as much of it as possible into the vehicles. Again, first stage LOX load has already concluded. We're coming up here in about 15 seconds or so on second stage LOX load complete. Once we finish prop loading, we have the LOX line on the transporter erector. We will start to clear out that line, so you'll see a lot more of those white clouds because we'll be venting out the liquid oxygen line once we finish prop load.
Stage 2, LOX load complete.
And good calls. Prop load is now complete on Falcon 9. And there you can see on your screen the venting of that liquid oxygen line on the transporter erector, and also a great view of pad 39A. You can see the fixed service structure. That's used where
Gas launch closeout.
that's where the crewed astronauts will make their way up that fixed service structure and across the crew arm that you can see there when we fly crew. We're coming up on the T-minus 1 minute mark. At that time, the flight computers will take over the launch countdown. We should hear that call out here in a few seconds.
Falcon is in startup.
There it is. Falcon 9 is now in startup. We are just waiting the final call from the launch director.
Starlink 418, go for launch.
And great news, all systems are go for launch. So let's watch as Falcon 9 takes our 53 Starlink satellites into space.
T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 15. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Full power. And liftoff.
Vehicle pitching downrange.
Nominal first stage chamber pressures.
Falcon 9 has successfully lifted off from Launch Complex 39A, carrying our 53 Starlink satellites into space. Now, moments ago, we did throttle down the engines on the first stage, and this is in preparation for Max Q. Max Q
Power
is,
and telemetry are nominal.
Max Q is the maximum dynamic pressure that the vehicle sees on ascent.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
Great call-outs. Max Q should be coming up here in about 10 seconds or so.
Max Q.
And there's that call-out. We just passed through Max Q. Now with that, we have a few events happening back-to-back very quickly, one after another. That'll be MECO, or main engine cutoff, stage separation, SES-1, or second stage engine startup 1, and then fairing deploy. MECO is where all 9 of those engines that you could see lit up on your screen, that is where those engines will shut down and that helps slow the vehicle down in preparation for the next event, which will be stage separation. That's where the first and second stage separates from each other. First stage will start to make its way back home here on Earth, while the second stage continues on its journey, taking the Starlink satellites with it, with SES-1, or second stage engine startup 1, and that's where we will light up that single Merlin engine on the second stage, and that second stage will then propel the Starlink satellites to its targeted drop-off orbit.
Main engine cutoff.
Stage separation confirmed.
MVAC startup.
Bearing separation confirmed.
Great views of all 4 of those events. We had MECO, main engine cutoff, which we were able to see with the tracking camera. We had stage separation. On your left-hand screen, you can see a view from the first stage. On your right-hand screen is the view of the
Both
MVAC.
vehicles are following nominal trajectories.
Great call-outs, nominal trajectory so far. On your right-hand screen is a view of the MVAC engine on the second stage, and you can see that is lit up. And we also got a great view of fairing deploy. And with those fairing halves having deployed, they are now going to make their way back to Earth. And the second stage will now continue its journey to take its Starlink satellites to its targeted drop-off orbit. And some awesome views here on your screen with the Earth in the background.
Signal Bermuda.
Now, while second stage proceeds towards its targeted drop-off orbit, the first stage will be making its way back to Earth, and to do so, it will execute 2 burns. Now, the first burn is called the entry burn, and that is where 3 of those 9 M1D engines reignite. That helps slow the vehicle down as it enters back into the Earth's atmosphere. Then the second burn is called the landing burn. It's the final burn of the first stage. It's just the single center E9 engine. And that brings the vehicle speed down rapidly in order to touch down.
Both vehicles continue to follow nominal trajectories.
In order to touch down on our landing zone. And again, today it is a shortfall of Gravitas, our drone ship that is nearly the size of a football field. And it's currently located off the coast of South Carolina in the Atlantic Ocean. Now, to aid in recovery, Falcon 9 is equipped with some pretty awesome tools to help it land. It has 4 landing legs stowed at the base of the vehicle that deploy right before landing. It also has 4 hypersonic grid fins, and you can see that on your left-hand screen. You can see 2 of the 4. These grid fins are located near the top of the first stage, and they help to steer the vehicle as it makes its way back to its landing zone. And you can also see some white puffs on the first stage. There goes one. Those are nitrogen bursts. Those are used for attitude control as the vehicle is guiding its way back down to Earth. We are just about 15 seconds or so away from the entry burn beginning on the first stage. Stage 2 is still looking good.
Stage 1 entry burn startup. Stage 1 FTS is saved.
And we heard that call out, and you can visually see on your screen those engines lighting back up on the first stage. This entry burn will last about 20 seconds long. And it's just 3 of those 9.
Stage 1 entry burn shutdown.
3 of those 9 engines, and heard that call out that the entry burn has concluded, and you can visually see that the engines have shut down.
Both vehicles continue to follow nominal trajectories.
Now there will be a second burn for the first stage. That is the landing burn. But as the vehicle is coasting right now, the atmosphere scrubs most of the velocity on the first stage. So we just need that single one engine burn right before touchdown. Each one of these M1D engines have about 190,000 pounds of thrust. That's enough to slow the vehicle down rapidly to make that touchdown landing. Now we are coming
Stage
up.
1 transonic.
We are coming up on that landing burn in just under 30 seconds. And a great view of first stage here, making its way towards our drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas.
Stage 1 landing burn.
There you can see the landing burn has begun on the first stage. The landing legs will
Terminal
deploy here shortly. Let's see if Falcon 9 can touch down.
Stage 1 landing leg deploy.
Incredible view there. As you can see on your screen, Falcon 9 has touched down on our drone ship.
Stage 1 landing confirmed.
A shortfall of gravitas. Now this marks the 121st overall recovery of a Falcon booster. And what a great view we have there on our screen. And we are coming up on SECO 1 here.
And back cutoff.
Expected loss of signal, Cape. And we have a nominal orbit insertion.
And great news, we heard those
Stage
call
2
outs.
FTS is saved.
We did lose the live view of second stage, but that was expected. But with confirmation of a successful second engine cutoff and a good orbit, we will be ending our webcast for today. We will confirm deployment of our Starlink satellites via SpaceX's social channels, but we'll also leave the mission audio live on our YouTube channel if you'd like to follow along through payload deploy. Thank you to the Federal Aviation Administration, our current Starlink customers, and of course, all of you, our viewers, for tuning in. Hope you all enjoy the rest of your week, and we will see you again very soon.